Hey, Mike. I was back and forth for a couple of days as to whether or not I should make a response to this video, because I'm definitely not the type of guy that you're looking for. I am an ex-theist, but I know what you really wanted, and what I was really hoping would happen was to hear some theists give their perspective on this. And as YouTube atheists with small subscriber bases, like you and I have, I think it's hard for us to break that crust and get Christian and Muslim and pagan viewership, because I think that they tend to go after the big fish in the pond. And I think that's a shame, because I'd really like to hear some answers to this. So I decided to make a quick video and let you know, when I was a theist, what I came to understand faith as. Now, I was raised in a Christian household, but the trip, when I made the jump from theism to atheism, it was a very short jump for me. Religion was never forced down my throat when I was a kid. It was taught to me as fact when I was very young. But when I came of the age where I could make the decision of whether or not I wanted to go to church or not, I was never forced. And the Bible was never read to me on a regular basis. If I wanted to read it, I could have, but it was never something that was forced on me. And I went through several bouts with it as a teenager and a young adult in my 20s, my early 20s, where something really hard would happen and I would fall back. Something really hard in my life would happen and I would fall back to that religion as a comfort, and I would really try to believe, really try to have faith, but I never could. And it wasn't until very recently in my life that I admitted to myself and the people that are really close to me what I am. In fact, it was within the last 3 years that I really admitted to myself that I just do not believe in God. I just don't. And I haven't for a very long time. When I hit high school, I really started to think critically about religion. And I think that that's one of the insidious things about religion, fundamentalist religion in particular, is that it fucks with a kid's ability to critically think about things. When you are vehemently spoon-fed religion throughout all those very formative young years where your mind is looking to your parents for answers to questions. Why shouldn't I touch the stove? Why shouldn't I run when I'm around the pool? You know, these types of survival types of questions. And religion is fed to you, and that part of your brain eats it up. I can't imagine how hard it is for somebody who's a very, very fundamentalist Christian to come around to this. It must be incredibly frightening. When I started to critically think about religion in my young teen years, 13 and 14, faith came to mean two things to me that went hand in hand. It came to mean fear and stubbornness. The first story that I ever questioned in the Bible was Noah's Ark, and I have a feeling it's that way for a lot of people, because Noah's Ark is an incredulous piece of shit story. And I started to really think about the logistics, as I'm sure a lot of people do, of getting 2 of every animal onto a boat, and food to last 2 of every animal onto a boat. Especially a boat that was built by, I don't know, what was it, 8 people maybe? It was Noah and his wife, and then his sons and their wives. Now, I knew when I was a kid, my dad's a military guy, and just from watching the Discovery Channel and stuff, that it took huge crews of people, literal years, to build aircraft carriers, these huge boats. And I knew that you couldn't fit 2 of every animal on the planet on a fucking aircraft carrier. Not if you filled the deck and filled every compartment in that ship, you would still have animals that didn't get on the ship. And so I thought, how long must it have taken this old fucking guy and his sons to build a boat of that magnitude with a hammer? And then feed them and take care of each of these animals and make sure that they didn't eat one another. It just seemed impossible to me. And it was that sparked me being critical of religion. And I started to think, and at that point I became very stubborn, and I said, you know what? You can't put logic and religion together. You can't do it. This is what the Bible says, and this is the truth. This did happen. And I was stubborn because I was afraid. I was afraid because I was taught that non-believers burned for all eternity in a lake of fire, with demons poking and prodding and ripping their flesh open and laughing about it and eating their guts. And it was just eternal torture. And so I very stubbornly locked out that logical part of my brain that was able to logically think about other things in the world, but just I didn't allow into the religious part of my brain. And so as time went on, I became more and more critical. It was something that just gnawed at me. I wasn't able to shake the skepticism, and other stories in the Bible started to come up. The story of Adam and Eve, all of it. And at some point in my late teens, I existed in this agnostic gray zone where I wouldn't admit that I didn't believe in it, because thinking about all those stories made me think about God. How incredulous was God? How completely and utterly ridiculous is the idea of God? It's horribly ridiculous. It's even ridiculous on a scale that surpasses Noah's Ark. So I existed in this agnostic gray zone, and I continued to deny myself the truth. I continued to deny admitting what I believed, that God doesn't exist, that none of this is real, because I was afraid, once again, even in my young teen, early 20s, was afraid of hell. I still am, to this day. There is still a nagging little voice in the back of my head that I don't think will ever go away as long as I live. What if Christians are right? What if this is a test? What if God gives you these doubts and gives you these fears because he's testing you? He wants to see if you're willing to believe in these things. And if you're not, you're going to burn. There's still a little voice in the back of my head, and there always will be, that says that to me. I just don't listen to it anymore, because the logical voice in my head is so much louder and so much stronger. It overrides it. But that's what I came to know faith as. Stubbornness due to fear. And I think that if a lot of Christians out there were honest with themselves, that answer would apply to them. So there you go. Good video, and here's hoping that it gets out there, and here's hoping you get some Christian responses.